Agents, moment of silence, public service announcements, department reports, action items. We have consideration and possible action on the layout and portion of Hillside Drive, consideration and possible action on the Sturbridge Conservation Commission bylaw fee changes, consideration and possible action on the Conservation Commission request to use Wetland Protection Fund. We have an appointment of Luke Cuatricelli as a full-time firefighter paramedic. We have consideration and possible action to accept the donation from $100 from Adeline Matarelli to the Sturbridge Fire Department. We have a consideration and possible action on a one-day liquor license. We have consideration and possible action on a one-day liquor license for the Sturbridge Farmers Market. We have consideration and possible action on an entertainment license for Empire Village for karaoke. We have a consideration and possible action on the transient vendor license. We have consideration and possible action on real-term energy street lighting presentation, and consideration and possible action to vote and approve the posting of the annual town meeting warrant. Old business, new business, correspondence, approval of minutes, and then citizens forum. So I'd like to start it off with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, now I'd like to have a moment of silence for all the people affected by COVID and the Ukraine situation. Thank you. All right. Public service announcements. Jamie, do you have any?
No.
Mary?
No.
Ian?
I do not.
And I have none. Now we have department reports. Police Department. Tonight we are joined by Lieutenant Bateman. Police Chief Earl Desert is at a conference.
Good evening. Chief actually asked me to deliver 4 separate reports, starting with January.
Yep.
So the department has seen that the calls for service monthly are still going up compared to last year's. We were at 2247 for the month of January. Year-to-date 2021 was 2168, so we're about 79 calls more than we were last year. Some of the department operations for January, Sergeant Payne, Officer Matt Erosion held an internet safety presentation at the Old Sturbridge Academy. Officer Jansen continues to participate in the driver's education courses at Tantasco High School. We have members that are still on these SEMLAC teams, such as the SWAT and the motorcycle units. So those are actively going out each month as well. Some of the training that was done in January, January 10th to the 14th, Sergeant Payne attended an FBI crisis intervention training. That was in Greenfield, Mass. Officer Jagir, Officer Jansen, both went to training for the month. Officer Jagir was in a drug driving training that was held in Palmer, at the Palmer Police Department. Officer Jansen continued to do his drone unit training. That participation for him was in the Gardner, Mass area for the month of January. Also in January, Chief Desert attended a Mass Emergency Management Director training in the town of Leicester. Chief Desert, Lieutenant Lombardi, and myself, as well as Sergeant Payne, all attended a virtual Mass Strategic Highway Safety Plan Summit that was virtual as well, put on by Mass Department of Transportation. Performance measures for the month of January, our neighborhood patrols was around 241. Our radar assignments were around 218 throughout the town. And our motor vehicle stops for the month were around 348. I don't know if you have any particular questions or specific questions for the month of January.
We only have April.
Oh, you do?
So if we're flipping and looking lost, that's why we're.
Okay.
At the end, Michelle, is there any way after the meeting you can make a copy?
Get
for
you copies
everybody?
of these?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Just at the end, that's fine.
Okay, so we're good with January? Anybody have any questions about?
Did anybody have any questions with January? Or? No, we're good with January.
Okay, I'll go on to February. Same thing with the month of February, our calls for service were slightly higher than for year-to-date 2021. We're at 4414 versus 4231. Some of the operational assignments for February, several members of the police department attended winter outing at the town common. Officer Matt Erosion held another internet safety presentation at the old Sturbridge Academy. Some of the trainings that took place in February, Sergeant Payne attended a crisis negotiation team training in the town of Leicester. And Sergeant Payne also attended a field training supervisor training, which was held in Nashua, New Hampshire. That was a 40-hour course. So he's going to be taking over our field training program as the supervisor for that. Our neighborhood patrols for the month of February was at 192. Our radar assignments were 229. And motor vehicle stops were around 320. Any questions relative to February?
Nothing on February, thank you.
Good. For the month of March, again, we see an incline in our calls for service. For 2021, at this time, we were at 6393 for calls for service. In 2022, we're at 6789. For several hundred more than year-to-date from last year. Operational, March 2nd, myself, as well as Officer Dana, Officer Giordano, Officer Matt Erosion, we all participated in Read Across America at the schools. Sergeant Payne also continued with a SALT meeting at the senior center, which is monthly for him. And throughout the month, certified department personnel properly install 3 child safety seats for town residents. Some of the training took place for the month. Officer Matt Erosion attended RAD instructor training, so you can start RAD classes up at the high school and junior high. Officer Giordano attended a crisis intervention team training in the town of Southbridge, and that was a 40-hour course as well. In March, Chief Desert Lieutenant Lombardi attended the FBI New England Regional Command training, which was held in Chatham. That was also a week-long course. Sergeant Murray attended FBI Executive Leadership Training in the town of Deerfield. That was a 40-hour course. And actually, Sergeant Fortier attended that same training for the month. And the end of March, Chief Desert, Lieutenant Lombardi, and myself all attended the accreditation conference, which was held in Falmouth. For patrols, neighborhood patrols, 195 for the month. Radar assignments were around 260, with a 408 count for motor vehicle stops for the month. Anything further for March? Any questions?
Nothing on March. Thank you.
Okay. And you all have a copy of April, you said, correct?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. So as you can see for the April report, our year-to-date stats for 2022 were at 9230, slightly higher than the year-to-date for 2021 as well. Some of the department operations to highlight, Officer Jansen Taitula attended the Easter egg hunt event at the town common. Several members of the police department participated in High Five Friday at Burgess Elementary, Tantascwa Junior High, and Senior High. And throughout the month, certified department personnel properly installed 8 child safety seats for town residents. Some of the training that was highlighted for the month, Sergeant Fortier attended the FBI Executive Leadership Training in Southbridge. That was also a 40-hour course. Dispatchers Brest, Towns, Gamond, and Rosanna all attended crisis intervention training in the city of Worcester. It's also a 40-hour course for them. Officer Taitula and Matt Erosion attended NASRO, which is the National Association for School Resource Officers, and they went in for a mental health training, which focuses on students, which is perfect for both of our SROs. Dispatchers Wyden and Dispatcher Cole also attended the crisis intervention training in Worcester later in the month. And towards the end of the month, Officer Patterson attended a drug investigation training. She is also one of our drug task force members. For the performance measures for the month, neighborhood patrols were at 279, radar assignments were at 230, and our motor vehicle stops are at 412 for the month. Any questions for April?
I just had one.
Sure.
So I noticed that the motor vehicle citations are way up compared to 2021.
Okay.
Is that because at the beginning of the calendar year, you made like a policy decision to hit the roads more with citations, or is it just the result of having more patrol officers out there? Because now we're at like 1,006 from 780 from 2021. I was just curious what the...
Right. Well, we don't have any more officers than what we usually have, and it really depends on the officer that's out there,
Okay.
how motivated that officer is. It also depends on the calls for service that are coming into the agency.
Interesting.
And we also have one of the grants that we received for winter impaired driving and also distracted driving. So that grant puts out extra patrols and 4-hour
Okay,
blocks.
so there are more
So
patrols on.
potentially that could have some effect to those numbers as well.
Okay, that explanation makes sense.
But those are one of those grants that we strive to retain every year.
Is there anything you wanted to highlight? I mean, we see Earl all the time. Is there anything just department-wide that you want to highlight? Or
Just the
let people know?
just the operations that I spoke about and the training that the officers went out to for the month. As far as highlighting anything, obviously the calls of service, as you can see by the numbers, are still going up.
Now, the calls for service, do you think it's kind of going to level off and we're seeing a big uptick because of COVID last year and now we're going to see it kind of level off, or do you?
I really don't anticipate it getting any quieter
Oh,
for
yeah.
us.
Yep.
We usually don't say the Q word, but yeah, it hasn't gone down in numbers.
Yep. How did the Brimfield Antique Market go last week?
It went very smooth for us.
Good.
Yep, I mean, obviously, there was an influx in traffic, as there usually is, bumper to bumper. I believe one day that there was an accident on the Mass Pike as well, so there was bumper to bumper in both directions, as well as 131, so.
Good, good. And I see we got the SRO reports. Those were nice to get. I don't think we've had a chance to really get those in the past.
You haven't gotten those in the past?
I don't think so.
Very rarely, yeah.
Sporadically we
Yeah,
have.
so the fact that, those are really nice to see. And then
Start
those guys-
asking for them to be included?
Yeah.
Gotcha,
Yep.
okay, yep. Yep, both school resource officers do a very good job at documenting their monthly activities, as you can see in their reports.
Yeah, yep, no, that's great. Does anybody have anything else, or?
I have something off the report. So there's been a lot of parking again on Route 15 by the tractor trailer trucks. So I had a couple of, well, I mean, you must drive by it
My
all the
wife,
time.
I'm actually
because-
happy you brought this up, because
Yeah,
my
I
wife
had a
brings it up
couple-
every time.
I
I
have a couple of people that live on, well, I don't want to say because everyone's
Yeah.
address is private, but that live along that way
Yep.
on,
Are they still parking where the signs are?
they're parking all over, yes,
Okay.
yes. And I just wonder, when they do park where there's the no parking, because I know they're almost every, I don't know, 20 feet. I mean, we have a lot of signs.
There's a lot of
up.
signs up there, yeah,
Some of them would run over, but are we ticketing those trucks or not?
it's all in the officer's discretion, obviously, but with that many signs up there, I would say that they should probably be getting a ticket at that point.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
feel like maybe they are ticketing, but it seems, and they're willing to pay the ticket, or we're not ticketing and they're just like taking advantage. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how many parking tickets we've issued, I'd have to look at the numbers, but
Okay.
don't have that
Yeah, no,
with me.
they're all parked there.
We should reach out to the travel station there too, and
Yeah.
kind of give them a heads up, like,
I know they worked well with us when we first initiated putting up the signs
Right.
due to the problem. And especially when they were doing the construction, that's why there's that many signs.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
All right,
But I will address that when I get back.
Thanks.
thank you.
All right.
Anybody else? All right, great. Thank you for coming in tonight.
Have a great night.
You're welcome.
I love saying that instead of stay warm, now we can say stay cool. Summer.
I don't have any other approach, Mary.
Like staying cool in here. I'm ready. right. All right, on to the action items. Consideration and possible action on the layout of a portion of Hillside Drive. Bob, you want to take this?
This was, actually, the board had gone through this a year ago. This was on the town meeting warrant. You had had the layout hearing, but for whatever reason, the layout had not been recorded. So council advises that we need to go through the process again. You're aware that there's an article on the town meeting warrant, but part of the process is to have what's known as a layout hearing. The abutters have been notified. You have the order of layout. The plan has been approved and sent back to the selectmen for the layout hearing, which is all part of the process. So you have the order of layout in front of you. This would be signed if the board approves by the board, and that would be filed with the town clerk at least 7 days, with the plan at least 7 days before town meeting. We have notified the abutters.
Does anybody have any questions on it?
Chase.
Oh. Yep, come, yep,
You gotta come up to the mic for
Yep.
everybody at home.
yep.
No worries.
Just introduce yourself and your name and your address, and
Okay. David Brash, 47 Hillside Drive. I reside there with Karen Casperson. We had a couple of questions in regards to the proposed layout. I was reading this, and I can't tell the existing to the proposed. It's not that descriptive, and you almost need a magnifying glass to read this, sir. I don't know if you got the same copy as I do.
yeah,
With that being said, if it's gonna be bigger, they just put a couple of telephone poles down there within the last 8 months. And will those poles be removed, or as far as I understand it, it's gonna be widening this cul-de-sac? So my,
no, I don't believe this, I don't believe the size is changing, and Butch, do you mind if I? We have our DPW director here today.
No, it's not, the size is not changing. We're just approving what's there. I have a bigger version here if you want to look at it. But what's there is what's going to stay there. The asphalt's going to stay the same, the drainage is staying the same. There isn't any drainage out there, it's all natural drainage. The cul-de-sac's been there since '67, I believe, so we're just approving it as is. There's no changes.
thank you, that's clarified, sir. I was actually under the impression it was gonna be enlarged.
No.
No, it just hasn't been accepted by the town, and now we're accepting it
Right.
as a
Apologize,
town
sir.
road. No, don't, hey, good to get up and get it off your chest.
Minutes to look at it? I mean,
The other thing,
have any
too-
questions?
We actually received a bigger copy right here. He can
No,
have
no,
mine.
really?
If you want, yeah, just a copy.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
happy
you.
that it's not being
I'm
enlarged?
very
That was your
happy.
main
I'm
question.
very happy, I didn't mean it.
No, good, this is what we, hey, we like people to come in here and talk, so,
And be happy.
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
This is what they were.
Perfect. All right.
I was just going to mention, the part that's being accepted, and I think it's the same as last year, is larger than the paved area. But my understanding is that there are no intentions to pave that. It's just going to stay with what's paved now. That's suitable for the trucks to turn around and school buses, et cetera. So the area that's part of the layout is larger than the paved area, but that's the way it's always been, and there are no plans to add to the paving.
All right. Any other questions from the board
Or the crowd?
or the crowd? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I will move to accept the updated layout of a portion of Hillside Drive.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Discussion? All in favor? It's 4-0.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bush. All right, next we have consideration and possible action on the Sturbridge Conservation Commission bylaw fee changes. I see Becky here, so. How you doing? Good. All right, Becky, you want to give us a rundown of what's going on?
Yep, so Becky Gender, I'm the conservation agent. So in our office, we've been working on, over the past year or so, working on updates to a lot of different things that we've been doing, our applications, structure, how we do our meetings, et cetera. So this was another item that we had been wanting to work on for a while. It's an update to the bylaw regulation fees that we have. So commissions review projects under our state act and under our local bylaw, and a separate fee is assessed for both. So under the local bylaw, the commission hasn't updated their fees since 2004. So it's been 18 years since they've looked at that. Originally, the fees were included in the regulations, and it wasn't until 2018 that they made their first regulation update since 2004 as well. So last year, with the codification project, speaking to the company that did that, they recommended that all our fee amounts are taken out of the regulations. That way, when we're prepared to make a fee change, we don't have to go through that regulation process in order to do so. So we did make that change last year, leaving our fees current to what they were at that time. And recently have kind of worked to tackle looking at the fees. So what we gave you, obviously I gave you a memo kind of outlining how we looked at that, but we looked at other towns that have bylaws, looked at what their fees are, tried to look at towns that we felt were somewhat similar, not necessarily an easy task, really kind of looking at demographics and bylaws, et cetera, development pressure, but we tried to give a representation of that with the changes that we're requesting. So we did present these to the board. They did approve them at our April 21st meeting. So the next step would be to get approval from the Board of Selectmen. We just really felt, that the fees that were being assessed for goods and services in 2004 doesn't really represent what, it costs for the town to do those things today. Tried to give you a little bit of an example, just to summarize. Probably could have wrote pages on, the amount of work that goes into it, but just quickly, our permits, there's a lot of before it gets to the commission. There's, work required throughout the process, and depending on how long the process goes through, how many meetings it might be, plan revisions, et cetera, things like that. And then, once a permit's issued, we still have a responsibility and a requirement to work with those people throughout the duration of their project. And depending on, how that project goes and the extent of that work, it's a lot of work for our staff, Erin and myself in the office. So we tried to, like I said, look at what some of these other towns were assessing and really think about what it takes to do these reviews. So we did include that comparison chart there. One thing to point out, which we didn't have on here, is that we had started that administrative review process. Those projects, those reviews still will have no fee assessed for them. So those are for smaller, minor projects, things maybe just in our outer buffer zone, things that can be done by staff in the office, usually a quicker turnaround. So we felt that it was fair for those type of homeowner projects that we wouldn't be assessing a fee for that, so.
So I think our packet may not be complete again. Am I missing something?
Do you have this?
I don't seem to.
There was
It's
a
right
chart,
behind
too.
Becky's, memo.
Yeah, I don't have it. Thank you.
Yeah, we actually formatted it on an 11 by 17. I printed a couple of them. I can pass them over if you
Oh, I
like.
can read them.
Okay.
Why is there such a range in Hopkinton and Southborough? Like, why isn't it a sum certain, like in the other towns? Like
Oh,
it
the
ranges
plus
from
amount on there?
$680, huh?
Where they have the addition, the 300 plus.
Addition,
Yeah, so
accessory.
so those towns, from our research, and the reason that there's a plus and on there, is that every application that comes in automatically goes to a peer review consultant. So the first fee you're seeing, so like for Hopkinton, the first one, it's $50 plus $480. Every time, every project that comes in, they add that. So in reality, their fee is over $500 for one of those type
They
of.
automatically, as a matter
As
of course.
my
send it to
understanding,
your
yep.
review.
I'm not sure if they have any exceptions. We didn't see anything on there. This was from their fee sheet. So, a lot of these things, a lot of smaller projects, don't require that unless it's, like a really complicated site, borderline, hydric soils, things like that. So most of those times we're looking at, we handle that in the office, so.
So those towns would take something, so their conservation commission would then send it to a peer review for a second
For
set of.
everything, yep, for everything. That's
that
my
the
understanding.
way
And they
that
do
the-
have staff too.
Wow,
Yeah.
because they're not that much larger than we are. I mean, they're probably more affluent communities, but still. So we don't, is that the waiver, do a lot of towns do that? Send it to a peer review?
Automatically?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. I think it probably varies for the town and what they have for staff and their workload, I guess.
And any other questions from the board?
Maybe I should know this one. What does WPA stand for?
Oh, Wetlands Protection Act.
Say it again?
Wetlands
Oh,
Protection
wetlands.
Act. Yep,
That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. Right.
I mean, they all make sense to me. 2004 till now.
I know, that's enough. I mean, 18 years, we haven't
Yeah.
done anything.
Yep.
It's hard to believe 2004 was 18 years
I
ago.
know.
Though. That's what I was looking at. I'm like, wow.
It's the second set of fees that we haven't reviewed for 18 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this isn't up to you, but I just wonder, like, everybody looks at different, I think it's something that we should look into and kind of be consistent with what towns we look at. Because when we changed our water and sewer fees, it was a different set of towns that, you know, Butch and Shane pulled up. And you pulled up a different set of towns. And when I know we negotiate with the unions, that we use certain town comparisons. Seems like every department kind of chooses their own.
Yeah, we did look at, Erin did get the list for that. Webster was one of those towns.
Okay.
But we also have to look at a town that has a bylaw also too. So it kind of adds restrictions on, you know, which towns we can use as well.
Have their own wetland bylaws.
Yeah, yep.
No, that's not for you. That's just
Yeah,
food
yeah.
for thought for the board to, you know, to almost have to be a little more consistent with what towns, all the departments look
Right.
at.
And I think
But
those
that
are-
makes sense. I mean, if they don't have bylaws with
Yeah.
wetland, they just go by the state.
Right, yep, the state act, yep.
Just looking for acceptance.
Yeah. Yeah,
Can I make a motion?
I'm okay with that.
all right. No more questions. We have a motion?
I will move to accept the Sturbridge Conservation Commission bylaw fee changes.
There's
Second.
a second. We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor? 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Becky. Next, we have consideration and possible action on Conservation Commission request to use Wetland Protection Fund.
All right, so this request, as you're aware, the commission does have a wetland protection fund that we receive for reviews under the Wetlands Protection Act. They don't get deposited into general fund, it's a separate revolving account. And it's for the administration and enforcement of projects under that act. So what we're asking is the commission voted, they'd like to appropriate $9,000 from this fund to be used to fund an assessment of resource area impacts related to an ongoing enforcement action that we have. They did have an executive session with town council, and it was discussed and advised to move forward with this at this time. So I did include that in the memo there for you with the original proposal that we had. Case has been going on for quite some time, so I did include a little information in the memo for you. I am working with that company to get a revised scope for that, but the focus area will be narrowed down, so it wouldn't be an increase on that amount. But we just got the okay from town council to move forward this way, so we contacted and got on the agenda as soon as we could to keep this moving forward. So we are asking to support the enforcement actions by approving the $9,000 to be used out of the Wetland Protection Fund.
How much is in the fund?
It's about, I think about 80 to 90,000. I'd have to get an amount from Barbara.
No, that's
I think-
enough. I was
Yeah, I
just-
think it's closer to 90, but I don't know the exact number.
I don't remember you coming forward at any point asking for money from that fund.
From this fund?
Yeah.
It is used for a portion of for the administrative assistant salary.
I knew that,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, for these type of,
For these type of things, I haven't at this time, yeah. I'm not sure if they have in the past or not, though.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the request of $9,000 from the Wetland Protection Fund.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion, a second, discussion. All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Becky.
No problem. Nice evening.
Next, we have consideration and possible action on the appointment of Luke Cuatricelli as a full-time firefighter paramedic with the Sturbridge Fire Department. Chief, you want to take it away?
Good evening, yes. I'm very pleased to present to you Luke Cuatricelli for consideration as a full-time firefighter, eventually to be a paramedic, contingent upon his successful completion of paramedic school. The cool thing about Luke is he was a part-time member of this department for a period of time, and for reasons beyond our control, he had to leave temporarily. But I think it's really neat that he's come back to us, and now he's going to be with us in a full-time capacity. So he is certified as a nationally registered EMT. He will continue in that capacity while he attends medic school. And he's also a certified firefighter 1 and firefighter 2, which means he's already been to the fire academy. So we're going to put Luke to work pretty much right away. And that's a great asset for me to be able to do that. Again, we're working on trying to get him into the earliest possible paramedic program. Right now, we're looking at the fall, September, and we're hoping that we can get 3 seats in that class for the 3 individuals that we're going to need to send. So this is really, really exciting time and really good news for us. Upon appointment, his rate of pay will be consistent with the provisions of Article 7 of the agreement between the Town of Sturbridge and the Teamsters Local 170, and will be effective tomorrow, May 17th, 2022.
Great.
Glad you decided to come back. Must like us, actually.
Absolutely.
It's always good to see a Tantascwa guy stay in town. Does the board have any questions? And you'd like the motion to be made with a rate consistent with the contract?
Yes, please.
Great. So do we have a motion?
Yes, I will move to approve Luke Cuatricelli as a full-time firefighter paramedic with the Sturbridge Fire Department at the rate of $20.84. Oh,
No, we're going to do
we're going to
consistent
do
with the contract.
consistent, oh, my apologies. Consistent with the Article 7 of the Teamsters Collective Bargaining Agreement with the town, effective May 17th, 2022.
Do we have a second?
Second, Jamie.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Congratulations.
Starting to,
His first day on shift will be Saturday.
good luck. God bless.
You want to do the other thing now or after?
What do we got for the other thing?
The Michael Ash.
It's acceptance of a donation.
Yeah,
Now.
yeah, we'll do it right now.
Okay.
That was the donation, right, Chief? I know.
No, it was a rate change because of the contract.
Yes.
They sent me the email, but they might not have seen it.
Yeah, we don't have it on
Just
this.
sent me the email on this today.
Oh, I can.
That's fine.
Where do you see that?
I'm being 100 million miles today, so I'll probably miss it myself.
Thank you.
Were you with the young man getting hired by the fire department? Oh, okay, sorry.
And
Have a good night.
And while we have the chief here, we have a wage rate for Michael Ash. And you're looking to correct a wage that,
Correct. When he was originally appointed, he was appointed at, I believe it was $23.29 an hour.
Yep.
However, in the interim of me writing that memo and it actually being put before you, he received a step increase as a part-time employee.
Yep.
So his wage actually was above that. So according to the contract, he needs to be moved to a different wage rate. And the correct wage rate is reflected in that memo,
54 per hour. Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the rate of pay for Michael Ash at $24.54 per hour. This adjustment would be retroactive to May 3rd, 2022.
Seconded.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do you need-
Things are starting to fill up your department.
We have one more to go, and that individual is in the process now. So hopefully, if there's a regular business meeting on the 6th, I may have them here that night, if not, it'll be the 21st of June.
Nice.
Do we get a group rate on paramedic school?
My mic is live.
I have the deputy chief working on this almost constantly, trying to get this.
Get them all together so they can study together too?
I'm staying.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Next, we have consideration and possible action to accept a donation in the amount of $100 from Adeline Matarelli to the Sturbridge Fire Department.
So moved.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Thank you.
All right.
With
4-0.
gratitude.
With thanks. All right. Next, we have consideration and possible action on a one-day liquor license for Greater Good Imperial Brewing Company for the concerts on the Common from 5:45 PM to 8 PM for all the dates listed on the application. And I believe Greater Good was approved for last summer's concerts on the Common, so.
Bonfire.
And they did the bonfire. They've done a great job for the town. We've never had a problem with them, so we asked them not to come tonight because we have a good relationship with them, so. Anyone have any questions?
No.
Okay, great. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to accept the one-day liquor licenses for the dates listed for Greater Good Imperial Brewing Company.
Seconded.
We got a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
You'll
Pass.
abstain.
Oh,
Michelle, abstain from this.
next, we have consideration and possible action on a one-day liquor license from Ragged Hill Cider Company for the Sturbridge Farmers Market on the Common from 9 AM to 1 PM for all the dates listed on the application. Again, they did the farmers market last year. They were great to deal with. So,
I've done
Pretty
multiple
easy.
events with them. They do a great job all the time, so.
good. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the one-day liquor license as laid out in the application for Ragged Hill Cider for the Sturbridge Farmers Market on the Common from 9 AM to 1 PM for all dates in the application.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor? 3-1 abstention. Next, we have consideration and possible action on the entertainment license for Empire Village for karaoke every Saturday from 8 to 12. We have any applicants there? Come on up. So we're gonna do some singing.
Coming down? Bring your friends.
That's it. All right, you want to introduce yourself for the people at home?
I'm Gina Rudell. I'm the bartender manager.
Jimmy Dren, I'm the owner there.
Okay, great.
This is very popular, karaoke.
Yep.
I wish you a lot of success. I'm sure you're gonna pack.
Even the mics are excited.
I think it might be mine. It's been pretty
There we go. Do we have any questions from the board?
I don't think so.
How late are you open till now? Are you open till 12?
11.
You're open till
We're
11 now?
probably 12 if it's busy for that, but
Yeah.
11 right now.
Okay, cool.
So does your license, your
It's till
restaurant
1.
license?
The license is till 1, I
Oh, okay,
believe.
so you don't need to.
No,
amend
we
it.
never stay open that late, but we're licensed.
Sidewalks roll up. I'll make a motion to approve the entertainment license for Empire Village for karaoke every Saturday, 8 PM to 12 AM.
Seconded.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
When do you hope to start?
Saturday night.
Oh, this Saturday.
As soon as you guys said yes.
Jamie's gonna be the opening act Saturday night, actually.
Just needed you
Not gonna
to say
escalate
yes.
that.
Well, thank you. That's
All
right.
right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Have a good night.
Next, we have consideration and possible action on the transient vendor license for New England Antique Arms Society at the Sturbridge Host Hotel on June 10, 2022, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., June 11, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and June 12, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Is there anyone here for that? No.
They send everything in, I believe they're in New York, I believe, but they do it every year.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
Do you guys have paperwork on this? I don't.
I don't have anything for this, no. Just a transient vendor license though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about it,
I'm
but
sorry. I gave you gave you the revised agenda and not the actual document for it, so.
Okay, you want to discuss
I'm
it?
sorry.
No worries. So they're paying for detail.
Yeah, they paid everything already.
Just why not?
That's okay.
Sorry, I did a revised.
No, it's easy, Michelle, you got a lot of things coming in and out, it makes sense.
Is there any questions for Michelle
I don't
from the
have any
board?
questions.
Yeah, I don't-
I mean,
I'm willing to make a motion to approve the transient vendor license for New England Antique Arms Society for the times and days listed, subsequent to all the rules.
We got a motion, is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion, second, discussion? All in favor? 4-0. All right. Next up, we have consideration and possible action for real-term energy street lighting presentation on streetlights. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Could you introduce yourself for the people at home?
Yeah, I'm Paul Vassell, Director of Smart Infrastructure for Real Term Energy. I've got a copy of our... Tell all those people who are interested in streetlights.
They're only
that's
interested
okay.
in when they're
We
shining.
rarely have anyone interested.
When they're shining in their window, that's the only time they're gonna be interested in it.
If they were out, they'd be in touch.
Well, just by way of introduction, my understanding is the town was looking to purchase streetlights. National Grid came out, and again, my understanding is that one of the reasons it didn't go forward with that inventory was that lights weren't deemed to be appropriate for certain parts of town, the wattage and so forth. I had worked with Paul when I was interim in Hopedale. I believe Hopedale signed up.
Yep, yep.
I think at this point, Real Term has a number of different communities. So I think at least this would be a good introduction for the town to begin to look at the purchase of streetlights. I think Real Term handles the maintenance as well, does an inventory of the area and sort of tailors, if you will, the streetlights to the particular area. So I think at this point, as I said, Real Term has a number of communities that have signed up, and Paul can
Yeah.
get into greater detail,
Yeah, so-
particularly on the financing.
I'll give you a little bit of an overview on who we are. In this world of LED streetlight conversions, at least in North America, we're probably the leader in terms of number of completed projects, somewhere in the order of 330 now over the last 8 or 9 years. We've been working in Massachusetts since legislation was passed about a decade ago, or maybe more, which enables all municipalities within the state to take ownership of their streetlight infrastructure from the electric utilities. Since that time, 60 or 70% of all the municipalities in the state have done so, and there's a very compelling reason why they do that. If you turn to page 9 and look at the numbers, they really do speak for themselves. In the project cost overview, the payback, and this is really in line with the 20 or so projects that we've completed in Massachusetts in the last 8 years. Some of the larger, more notable ones include Brockton, Pittsfield, closer to here, maybe West Springfield, Agawam, Tingsboro, Haverhill. We've done about 20 projects over the last 8 years. So your project payback, and we've done two estimations on this project. One which is with the standard photocells, which gives you a 2.7-year payback. And the other, which is much more prevalent over the last 2 years with smart controls, bumps that payback to about 3.5 years. Still pretty attractive return on an infrastructure project for a city. If you turn now to the next page, you can see a breakdown on how this is calculated and what the savings looks like for Sturbridge. The second table, which is the operating cost analysis, today you're paying about $84,000 a year. Post-conversion and post-acquisition, so once you acquire those streetlights from National Grid and we convert them to LED, your annual cost goes down from $84,000 to $22,000. $62,000 a year savings, or a 74% year savings. The biggest savings that takes place, not only here in Massachusetts, but in all of the northeastern states where buybacks or acquisition of streetlight infrastructure is permitted, is your tariff change. When you move from a utility-owned tariff to a municipal-owned tariff, that's where the biggest cost savings is. Of course, when you convert to LED lights from your high-pressure sodium lights, you're also picking up about a 60 or 70% savings on energy. So those two savings combined give you a 74% cost drop year to year, resulting in a 2.7-year payback, right? That's only one driver for why cities and towns all across Massachusetts, and really in every state where municipalities are allowed to buy back their streetlights, and we've worked in Maine and Connecticut, New York, and Massachusetts, where legislation also exists which allow municipalities to take ownership. It's also about being the master of this infrastructure, because a few years ago, streetlights were just streetlights. Today, we're talking about the network for smart city services, right? So some of the more common ones that we've been deploying over the last few years include public Wi-Fi, 5G. If you want to be in the game of 5G, you can deploy small cell densification, overlay it on your streetlight infrastructure, which makes you eligible for the $270 per pole that you can charge to Verizon and AT&T. Smart parking, smart air quality sensors, EV charging modules. This has become really cost effective over the last 2 or 3 years. You can integrate those modules right into your streetlight infrastructure and have additional EV charging stations. So it's been one of the reasons why municipalities all over the country, and specifically here in Massachusetts, have decided to take advantage of this opportunity to take control of the infrastructure. The other thing is, if you take a look, and you can Google this, on what's been happening to energy costs over the last half a year or a year or so, they've gone up quite a bit, and the prognosis over the next few years is that will continue to happen. So by taking ownership of these streetlights, now you're protected against future rate increases from National Grid on their tariff, right? Because your new tariff, your municipal-owned tariff, is about 80% less per kilowatt hour than what you would pay if they continue to own the streetlights. And last but not least, in our conversations with our clients throughout the Northeast, another reason why they've opted to do this is from a service standpoint. I'm not here to bash National Grid or any of the other utilities, but the bottom line is the service and the reaction time that you get from a utility on light outages is less than optimal. And once you take ownership of those streetlights, whether you hire us to do ongoing maintenance or whether you work with another third-party contractor, the probability that your response time and your service levels when it comes to maintenance on streetlights is going to increase significantly. Again, nothing against utilities. There are lots of reasons why they move slower, but service levels do go up typically when a municipality takes control of that infrastructure, right? So you save energy, you're the master of your smart city future, your service levels go up, and you save a ton of money. Now, we've done a financial analysis for you. And my apologies that the numbers are kind of small on this printout, but Bob, you have the digital version of this, and it can be distributed to everybody. So if you can't read this printout, you can take a look at the digital version. But we've run some scenarios for you on financing. About 25% of our municipal clients opt to have us finance these projects rather than have you self-fund it yourself. And the project is cash flow positive from day one. So it means there's no capital outlay. The savings that you generate year to year far outweigh the lease payments. This scenario is based on a TELP, a tax-exempt lease purchase. We use the prevailing interest rates from about 30 days. No, we did this analysis about 2 or 3 months ago. I know interest rates have ticked up a little bit. So the assumptions that we made on this model, which I think were 2 3/4%, probably went up about 1/4 or 1/2% since then. But the numbers are still very compelling. Your savings still comfortably outweighs your lease payments year to year.
Do we pay, so this is, I'm not very knowledgeable about this type of thing, so our lease payments are made monthly or annually? Or,
Annually,
okay, so once a year we make our lease payment?
yes.
So in year one, it's $36,553? Am I looking at the right?
You're right, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a 5-year,
We ran a 5-year amortization for you.
okay, but I am looking at the right
Yep.
thing. And then it goes to 51,901 and,
Hang on, I should have brought my, my reading glasses here. Hang on one second.
no, I know that's what it says, 51,901. I just want to make sure I was looking at the right place.
Yeah, so your lease payment in year one is $31,249.
I'm sorry, say it again?
$31,249 year one on the 5-year. This is the first table,
What am I looking at where I see the 36,553? Am I looking at the wrong thing? I'm on the wrong page.
Yeah, I think it's right
yeah,
here.
you should be on page 14.
Yeah, thank you, Jane, it just helped me. I was on the next page.
So I guess I have some sort of step back questions, if we can, before we kind of get into the details of the payment, just so I understand this.
Sure.
So, first capital expense is buying back the poles, correct? From the Commonwealth as held by the utility grid.
That's right, yeah.
What's the basic cost of that in 1 year? Or where will that be identified?
Yeah, that was part of the previous table.
That was on page 9.
Hang on. Yeah, your acquisition costs, $45,675.
Okay, so $45,000 is the acquisition cost from the National Grid or whoever's holding it. So we spend that, and then you're coming in with 2 options. The first option is a straight lighting LED upgrade, right? And the second option is a more expensive one that creates an ability to pivot to a variety of other functionality.
Yeah, let me give you a description of smart controls.
Yeah.
90 to 95% of the lighting projects that we've done in the last 2 years have incorporated smart controls.
Okay.
The advantages of having smart controls as opposed to standard dusk to dawn photo cells, number one, from a service standpoint, the smart controls will inform you in a proactive way if the light is out or is sick, as we say, sick, if it's failing, right? Today, as we speak, with standard photo cells, the only way you know if a light is out is if you can visually inspect it, right? So from a service standpoint for your constituents, giving you the ability now to know immediately when a light is out, you can react quicker, and you're going less time without having light on a particular street. So it's set up over a cellular network. All the data and information then is transmitted from that smart control to a central management system. You'll have the dashboard of that central management system if you decide to take on maintenance yourself, or if you just want it in a supervisory capacity to see what's going on with your lights, right? You'll have in real time access to that information. So should a constituent call up at any point in time and complain about a light, you'll be able to say, well, yeah, no, we're aware of that. We can see it on the dashboard. That light went out 48 hours ago. We've got to call in a case number that's created for our maintenance, and we're on it, and this is the status, right? The second advantage or benefits that you get from a smart lighting system is it gives you the ability to dim and trim your lights. So, for example, if you've got a section of Sturbridge, and I know you've got a street here where you've got some bars and restaurants and whatnot, what some cities and towns do is when those bars and restaurants close, they turn up the intensity of the light to create more security. And then once all the places are closed down, then they dim those lights over time.
That was going to be one of my questions on dimming, because I think that was one of the turnoffs that we had when we looked at LEDs initially. On, you know, a beautification thing, we thought it might be a little too glaring, too white, but now I understand it can be a softer.
So that's another subject, and I'll address that now.
Okay, but that was one of the turnoffs.
When Jeff was here, he was saying that in the previous town, they went through this with National Grid, but National Grid would only buy one heat of lamp, and it
Also,
One of the
Not the whole town to like.
one of the disadvantages of working with National Grid or Eversource is that when they do their upgrades right now, they're upgrading using the old Kelvin color temperature of 4,000, which is much whiter and much brighter than the current Kelvin temperature that we've been working with for the last 2 years, which is 3,000. 3,000 is a much softer, yellower light.
It's not that blue white.
It's much more akin to the high-pressure sodium lights that you have today. The industry has been moving in that direction pretty quickly over the last 2 years. It was spurred ahead by a report that the American Medical Association put out about 2 years ago, which talked about blue light exposure and circadian rhythms. Now, there was a lot of debate about that report, and I'm not going to go into the debate on the science on whether or not those lights will keep you up or not and cause you to lose sleep.
Glasses to keep out blue light, is that similar?
What's that?
People wear glasses to keep out blue light.
Right.
When they're on, that's a similar concept, right?
The bottom line was that the reaction of the public to that report and to LED lighting in general was, you know what, we want softer lights. We don't want the lights to be so white and so bright. And so the industry has reacted to that. All of the top lighting manufacturers over the last 2 or 3 years have migrated from 4,000 Kelvin to 3,000 Kelvin. Some communities go even lower than that. We've done jobs at 2,700 Kelvin. Sometimes in the residential areas, people want even softer, yellower lighting than you may want in your arterial roads. So some of the projects that we do have hybrid lighting in areas where you might have more traffic, more intersections. We'll stick maybe with the 3,000 Kelvin because it gives you better color rendition and it is somewhat safer. And then when you get into the residential areas where you're likely to get more complaints from residents on color temperature, we can tone that down to 2,700. There was an article, I don't know if you read it, but a project that we did recently in Pepperell, one of the constituents is one of the directors of the Dark Sky Consortium, and he's also the director of MIT's Astrophysics Lab. And it's a great reference for us. He considered it to be the best lighting project that he's seen in North America. So we pay particular attention to dark skies and light trespass. We know that most people prefer to have their skies dark, and you want light where you need the light, which is on the ground. You don't want it going up into the sky, and you don't want it going behind the light. So photometric design is really an important component of how we do our lighting projects. And if you want, I'll take 5 minutes and explain how these projects are done.
Can I just interject for a question?
Yeah.
Because I like to drive and see some of these. So Longmeadow and Auburn are the two closest towns to us. Are they utilizing the softer lighting in any of their neighborhoods, say Longmeadow or?
Two communities that we've done recently that have 3,000 Kelvin color temperature are West Springfield and Agawam. I know they're not too far from you.
Not Auburn or Longmeadow.
No, because those were earlier projects, but West Springfield and Agawam, those were recent projects. We finished those about a year ago. And the industry was already at the point about a year ago where most communities were opting for 3,000. Williamsburg as well and Sunderland, which I think are maybe a little bit closer or about the same distance, they're also 3,000 Kelvin color temperature, as is Athol, not too far.
Sorry, thank you.
So just sort of a quick overview on, when we talk about an LED upgrade, what that consists of. We start with a physical GIS inventory. So we'll physically inspect each and every one of your poles, number one, to make sure that that inventory is accurate and you're not paying for more lights than you're buying from National Grid. In the 325 projects that we've completed, we've never found an inventory from a utility that was accurate. Zero. Okay, so it won't be accurate. Again, no criticism against the utilities. They're working in a space where very often where they have to replace lights, it's because there's a storm or there's some sort of crisis, and lots of reasons why there's not 100% accuracy in inventory, but there won't be. And so it's really important for each and every light to be inventoried for you. Secondly, in order for us to give you proper lighting, we're collecting about 17 different data points from every pole. That includes offset from the curb, width of the street, distance between the poles, height of the fixture, pedestrian conflict, roadway classification. So all that data goes into a pretty complex photometric design model. And as we move through Sturbridge, every time we get to a unique street within the town, that calls for a different photometric design to give you the proper lighting footprint and the proper lighting, safe lighting on every street, right? Sturbridge is no different from any town and city that we've done over the last decade. With the technology that you have today, high pressure sodium, you're going to have lots of streets and lots of lights which are not optimally lit. They're going to be overlit, they're going to be underlit, your lighting footprint's not going to be correct. Everybody's dealing with the same situation. So if you're going to go about upgrading your streetlights, which hopefully it's something you're going to do only once every 20 years or so, it doesn't make any sense to not do it the way that we do it. Whether you work with us or somebody else, overlaying proper photometric design just makes sense. It makes sense mainly because it's not going to cost you any extra money. Typically, when we're applying photometric design to a project, rather than do it the way National Grid is, which is a one-for-one swap, they're going to take every 150-watt high-pressure sodium fixture that you have, and across the board, they'll replace it with the same wattage LED fixture. That's fine. You'll save some money, but you're not going to correct all these anomalies that you have all over town, right? Typically, when you do that, or when we've been doing it, 375,000 fixtures, we're picking up on the average of 4 to 8% additional savings, which more than pays for the cost of the photometric design. So why would you not want to have photometric design? Once we do the photometric design and we bid out both the fixtures as well as the installation, now we have a full picture of what your conversion project is going to look like. What we've done here is called a desktop study. It's probably going to be within 10% accuracy of what your final project is. But we don't know exactly what your inventory is, and we won't know until we go out in the field and inspect it. And we also don't know what the optimal wattage is going to be of your replacement fixtures until we select a fixture, right? So we bid out labor and materials based on procurement 30B codes. Everything is competitively bid. Everything is open book. Bob asked me, one of his first questions, which most town managers ask us, is, how can we work with you guys on this basis? Don't we have to go out for a public bid? So I don't know if you provided the board, but we had a memorandum written up about 8 years ago, which prescribes how municipalities can engage with us under 30B without having to go to RFP. And essentially, what they've written out for us is that we have to openly bid the two main cost components of the project, which are labor and materials, and we do it on an open book basis, right? So you engage with us on a professional services basis. We're your consultant for the entire project. The procurement of labor and materials goes through you, but we do all the work. We prepare the specifications, we prepare all the bid materials, we evaluate the results, we show you objectively our scoring on those results. So for fixtures, we're looking at 3 criteria. We're looking at photometrics, we're looking at life cycle savings, and we're looking at cost. And we can weigh those components differently if you have a preference. You know, some towns will tell us, look, you know, I don't really care too much about photometrics. Cost is much more important, so we'll change the weighting if you'd like us to. But otherwise, we typically will do 50% cost, 25% life cycle, 25% photometrics. We're agnostic when it comes to equipment, though typically for Cobra heads, which will represent the majority of your streetlights, we're working with the top 6 Tier 1 US-made manufacturers. Most of them are household names like GE, Philips, Acuity, Eaton Cooper, Cree, and Leotech. They've done 98% of all the projects in North America. The reason you want to work with a Tier 1 US-based manufacturer is this is equipment that is slated to last for 100,000 hours or 22 or 23 years. So you want a company that's financially stable. Most communities prefer to work with US manufacturers. We do as well. You don't want to be a guinea pig on technology, so you want to work with a manufacturer that has hundreds of thousands of lights deployed all over North America. Okay. They all come with a 10-year warranty. So when we talk about ongoing cost of maintenance, really what we're talking about is labor. You don't pay for any equipment for 10 years. If there's a street light that fails, in the LED world, they don't go out and fix it, they replace it. Right? So that's warranted for 10 years. Again, we provide maintenance. You don't have to engage with us on maintenance, but we provide it for many of our clients. Even cities that are 10 or 50 times bigger than you are, when they're moving from a utility-owned world to a municipal-owned world, none of them are set up for maintenance. They don't have bucket trucks. They don't have trained electricians.
Are the maintenance costs part of the lease costs?
No, but the maintenance costs are included in the financial analysis on page 9. On page 12. If you look on page 12 at the operating cost analysis, you see that table?
I do.
All right, so your baseline is your situation today. We have your annual maintenance cost at 0 because National Grid doesn't break out the maintenance costs from what your monthly charges are for your streetlights. So we put a 0 in there, but it's included in there in your.
What page are you on?
Hey, we're not on page 12. Our page 12.
No, I'm sorry, page 10. Page 10.
Yeah.
Page 10. If you look at the next column, your post-LED upgrade column, your annual maintenance cost of $10,600 is what your estimated annual cost will be once you take ownership from National Grid and once the lights are upgraded. All right? And if you look at the row underneath that, your total streetlight expenditures then include what your annual maintenance cost would be.
It's 0 right now because we don't pay.
No, it's 0 because it's included with all the other fixed charges that you pay for National Grid. They don't break out.
Right.
They don't break out supply charges from maintenance.
Okay.
What's the average life of the light?
So they're slated, it's called L70 at 100,000 hours. L70 means that on the average, after 100,000 hours, 30% of your diodes, of your light-emitting diodes, will fail. Now, that's 20 years or 23 years. The data that we have, because we've got 375,000 fixtures that have been out for as long as about 8 or 9 years, is our failure rate, our average failure rate is at about 0.3% per annum. The manufacturers stipulate that failure rates are double that. So it's one of those few cases where a product is actually performing better than what the manufacturers stipulate. The oldest, largest data set is from the city of Los Angeles. They did an upgrade about 8 or 9 years ago, about 250,000 lights. And their failure rate is similar to ours, a little bit higher because the lights are older and the technology is older. They're at about 0.4%. So up until now, this technology and these products are performing better than what they were expected to. But nobody knows for sure what's going to happen in year 15 or 16 or 17. We haven't seen it yet.
Okay, just by way of background again, for how long have municipalities had the legal right to buy back the lighting from?
In the state of Massachusetts, over a decade.
Okay. And again, what exactly is that process?
So
national, they don't have a choice, right? It's up to,
right.
they can't decline.
They can't decline.
our Desire to buy back.
They can't decline. So you have to send them a via email, a short email saying we're interested in buying our lights back. They will then send you an updated quote on what it'll cost you to buy those lights back. They have a standard purchase sale agreement which they'll send to you. Everything that I'm explaining to you will help you out with if you need our help. We'll review all the documentation and make sure that it's in order.
So that's not a bargain for type of,
You can't negotiate with them.
they have a set price for what they will charge for us to purchase the poles, the back.
It's going to be based on the net book value of your assets. So they're going to look and see how old those assets are, and they'll calculate what the replacement value is on it. In reality, not just for National Grid, but for all the utilities that have been selling their streetlights back to municipalities, in reality, these assets are fully depreciated, and they shouldn't charge you a penny for it. But that's not what they negotiated with the Public Service Commission, neither here nor anywhere else. They want to be paid somewhat for these assets.
So I know you probably can't answer this because there's no inspection of how old our assets are, but what is like the range of?
No, we included that in our analysis.
46,000, right?
45,000.
That was the original number we looked at in the beginning of this talk. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're basing that on what? You did a desk survey?
Based on the numbers that we've seen from other communities.
And you're extrapolating those and
We're
applying?
extrapolating based on your number of fixtures.
Okay.
It'll be close. National Grid in Massachusetts has not had a wide variation on what they've charged municipalities for buybacks.
So that's on page 9, acquisition cost.
It's been pretty consistent, yeah.
Is that the 45,675?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I would recommend, and this doesn't cost you anything, and you don't have to make any commitment to do so, but I'd strongly recommend that you contact your account representative at National Grid and ask them to give you a buyback quote. Give us that number. If there's any discernible difference between the estimate that we put in here and the new number that you get, we'll recalculate it for you. I don't expect there would be. If anything, it should be lower because your assets will be more depreciated over time. But get that number as a reality check and make sure that we're working with an assumption that's accurate, right?
That makes sense. I would certainly be in favor of contacting National Grid, getting what our buyback is exactly. And then I think that the board's going to want more time. You know, we just got it tonight, but to me, it sounds like a no-brainer. I mean, this is a good deal, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense. We have to kick the tires on it, though, I figure.
Yeah.
So one more clarification on the way these projects are staged. I talked about doing the field audit, which is the physical audit, and then we bidding out the labor and materials. And that all culminates in a very detailed report, which we call the investment grade audit, all right? The investment grade audit, as its name implies, is real. It's a bankable document. You could actually get financing with it. So we've done all the analysis. We've selected the fixture. We know exactly what the converted fixtures look like. We pretty much know exactly what your cost and your savings is going to be on the project. These projects are really easy to get financing for because streetlights are a non-metered service. So unlike HVAC, or other energy conservation measures, with lighting, once you know how many hours your lights are on, and you know what the wattage reduction is moving from your current lights to LED, you know exactly how many kilowatt hours you're going to save every year. So these studies that we do are highly, highly accurate, and also very safe for anybody to finance. That's why it's very easy to get low-interest lease financing for the projects. So we've done all the calculations. We present to you the investment grade audit. Up until that point, your financial exposure is pretty small. The cost for the town to get up to that is approximately $45 per fixture or so. Multiply that by your 442 fixtures. That would be your out-of-pocket expenditure before we actually pull the trigger on procurement. Right? And you can terminate the contract at that point if for whatever reason, if the numbers vary, which typically they don't, or if you just decide, you know what, we don't want to do this, you get cold feet, you don't want to move ahead with the project, you can terminate the contract, and that's all you're out, the cost of the investment grade audit. We sit down with you, we explain everything that's been done, why did we select this fixture, what the photometric designs look like, so you've got complete clarity on the project and all the costs before you really commit to procuring both the labor and materials, right? And that's the way our contracts are structured. 2 phases, up to IGA and then deployment, right? I think that's about it. We've got lots of references, lots of people you can call all over New England if, to find out how we work. The World Bank cited real-term energies, streetlight methodology as best practices in the world for doing streetlight projects. So we've been asked to consult on projects all over the planet, Brazil, Morocco.
Where are your headquarters?
So our headquarters are in Annapolis, Maryland. Our energy company headquarters are in Montreal, and 95% of all of our projects have been done within probably 200 miles of here. The Northeast is where the company is really, really strong.
And Paul is now based in Colorado, which was new. So I know we had talked about deferring this, but he had already bought his non-refundable ticket.
Yeah, I lived in Florence for 12 years, and long story, but my wife got me to move out to the mountains of Colorado, so now I live in the highest incorporated municipality in the continental U.S.
Did you live in Florence, Italy?
Massachusetts.
Florence, Massachusetts.
Okay. Oh, Lawrence? I thought
Florence.
Oh, you did say Florence.
Florence.
Okay, I was thinking Italy. I guess
That must
I
have
need
been
to-
how you landed the Williamsburg contract, right? You're all in the same little area right there.
So I just want to understand the sequence of events. Right?
Yes.
This was a desktop study, which you said is within 10% accurate.
Typically it's been within 10%.
Do a field audit where you actually go out and count our fixtures and see how old they are and all of that.
And collecting all the data on the fixtures. And then we'll do reconciliation with National Grid and with you. Once we do that inventory, right? We'll do a reconciliation and we'll come up with what the final real inventory is before we go out to bid.
All right, my question is, the investment grade audit, where you know exactly the costs and the savings.
Yeah.
That is before our commitment to have you go out to bid for labor and.
No, we're bidding it out, but we're not procuring.
Sort of procurement.
The investment grade audit is prior to procurement, right? So
Prior to procurement, but is it prior to going out for bid?
No.
Okay.
No, 'cause we need to go out to bid to give you accurate numbers.
Okay, that's why I wasn't connecting. I was like, how can they give me that audit if they haven't gone out to bid?
Yeah.
It's before procurement, but after the bidding process. And then we get the investment grade audit.
Then you get the investment grade audit. It's really to provide you with all the data and all the certainty that you need before you pull the trigger on the project. And we've put this together over years and years, understanding how councils and boards of selectmen usually operate. We know it's much easier for you to get approval for, what did I say, $45 times 442, whatever that comes out to, $20,000 or so to do all of the preliminary work. Easier to get that budgeted perhaps, than the full, $176,000. So we've staged it in such a way where you can get approval for the funds to give you everything that you need to then get final approval, budgetary approval on the project. You may manage your budgets differently, that's fine, but the project is still going to be set up in such a way where you don't have to make that large financial commitment until you have all the facts and all the data.
And we don't have to send it, we get around the bidding process of just hiring you. We still set it out for bid for labor and materials, but you do all the work.
We do all the work, yeah.
Okay. In the bidding process.
And again, I can supply you all, I don't know, Bob, if you had that memorandum, but I can send it to all of you. So you'll see the memorandum upon which this whole procurement process was set up.
I think I had gotten that, a couple months ago, and I hadn't resent it, but I can find it and resend it.
Right. It's what all the cities and towns in Massachusetts have used in order to proceed without having to go out for RFP. And you can have your lawyer review it, of course. You'll.
I just want to understand the basic structure.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. This was really helpful. To me, I think we start kicking the tires, like Jamie said, and
Well, the first thing we do is we send the email to National Grid, right? And
Sure.
ask what would be the cost. We're interested in buying
Say
back.
you're interested in buying back your streetlights, please send us a quote for the buyback.
and I'm gonna take a ride at night to one of the, either
Yeah, I
West
wanna see.
Springfield, Athol, or Agawam.
That's what
It's got
turned
the-
us off with
with
National Grid.
before.
Have a look and see what the lighting looks like. See if you like the color and everything.
And you can have different lighting for different neighborhoods.
Yeah, we can customize the lighting according to your needs and desires. Seriously, it's not.
20 different than a neighborhood.
What's that?
The lighting on Route 20 can differ from a residential neighborhood.
Absolutely, yeah. A hybrid solution is perfectly fine.
Right.
Yeah. What else can I tell you? Oh yeah, one final note. We're not just a streetlight company. We're an energy efficiency company. And there's been a new program that was just released through National Grid and Eversource for demand response. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. Demand response essentially is setting up a microgrid to help the utilities in times of peak demand, typically in the summertime when a lot of people have their air conditioners on and whatnot. National Grid and Eversource and electric utilities are really struggling with brownouts and having shortages of energy during those times. So Massachusetts has a program, it's called Demand Response, where essentially you're buying energy from the utility when the cost is low and you're selling it to them when the cost is high. Right? The way you do that is through energy storage. So we put together a program, and we can talk about this another time, with EV charging stations, which is another service that a lot of municipalities are looking to expand on. So you have level 2 and level 3 EV chargers in a site that you select. Often it's a municipal parking lot or some other space like that, with an energy storage unit, right? The energy storage unit is connected to the grid and also connected to the EV charging stations. So again, we're buying energy from National Grid when the cost is lower, and we're selling it back to them during these demand response times. And that energy then is fueling your EV charging stations. Okay? We pay for all of the capital expense, all the infrastructure. We also pay for the operations and maintenance of all the equipment, and then we enter into a lease agreement with the municipality to pay you for the space that we're occupying. Again, we can talk about it another time, but it's another sustainability and energy efficiency project that a lot of municipalities are looking at. Another way where you can generate revenue for the town, provide a service not only to your constituents but also to your electric utilities by helping them manage their power. And go even greener than you are today. So it's a green, sustainable, profitable initiative which requires no investment.
Good. Thank you.
Well, I can certainly make the buyback request. If I remember correctly, in Hopedale, it took quite some time to finally get it, but I think it'd be good to have Robin in on the ground floor of this, and Paul has offered to come out again and assist.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be coming. I had meetings with Brockton, Plymouth, Lee, Barnstable. There are a lot of communities now that are interested in this energy storage and EV charging initiative. So I'm going to be coming out here fairly often again.
Start to finish in a town our size.
Yes.
What kind of completion date do we look at?
So the biggest time impediment, and Bob knows a little bit about this because Hopedale has experienced some of the delays in the buyback. It's the buyback of your streetlights.
From National.
That's the delay. And I don't want to go into this why there's such a long delay. There's no reason for it, but that's the one component of the project that we don't control. Everything that we control, from the inventory to writing up the IGA to doing the procurement, project management through commissioning, for a project this size, 3 to 4 months.
Wow, that's fast.
Maybe a few weeks more, depending on what supply chain looks like, over time. We've seen deliveries of streetlights a little bit delayed over the last 6 to 12 months.
So
Seems to be getting a little bit better now.
So could National Grid take like 6 months to respond?
Yeah, that'd be a fast time.
They could.
Wow.
They could. The key is, and we advise all of our communities, stay on top of them. If you stay on top of them, our experience is they'll respond. But you got to don't count on them to respond if you don't stay on top of them. They are not interested in selling their streetlights back to you. This is a cash cow for them. It generates a fair amount of revenue. It's very profitable. They're not going to facilitate this.
Thank you. Anything else from the board? We really appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
My pleasure.
You were helpful.
My pleasure. And if you have any other questions or whatnot, Bob knows how to reach me. My phone number, email. Great. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I have an extra copy.
Oh, okay.
You don't need any motion to reach out to National Grid or anything. You can do that all.
No, not right now.
Okay, great.
Might need one in about 6 months when we get the information from them.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next consideration.
How did this come about? Did you reach out to Real Term Energy, or did they reach out to us to be on our agenda? Or?
I think I had reached out to Paul. Like I said, I was interim in Hopedale for a while and worked with him there, and he made a presentation to the board, and I think Hopedale went along with it. And I don't know what came up. I think it was when we were with the town, getting off into another area here, but the town has quite a few credits built up with National Grid that we're looking at how to use, maybe with the Burgess School. That's another issue that Chris and Barbara had been dealing with National Grid on, and then somehow streetlights came up, and it rang a bell to get back in touch with Paul and to see if the town would be interested in going in that direction. And I had heard, as came up earlier, that National Grid had come out, but doesn't exactly tailor-made the lights, and had the board had the same concerns that you talked about, that, some of them were too bright and, not proper for certain neighborhoods and so forth. And that's what I remembered with the real term presentation about how they try and tailor it, for lack of a better word, to each individual location.
Great.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. All right, next up, consideration and possible action to vote and approve the posting of the annual town meeting warrant and special town meeting warrant. So we voted on all the items, and now this is just voting to place it, get it on.
I hope so. We're not going to go over it again, are we?
No.
Yeah, the only additions are FinCom's vote.
I believe so, yeah. Okay. But I don't know if that's on the posted warrant. I think a lot of that, if I don't misunderstand, I think that's for their book that they send out.
Oh, for at the meeting.
Yeah, you get this.
You get this
You get this at the
Yeah.
meeting. Yeah.
Which one did they vote to pass on?
They look like 5-2 was the biggest disparity.
I
Article
think
35.
the Cedar Street,
Yes, I was aware of that.
that was one.
Was
I
that
think
the only one?
it seemed to be. I
Public
went through-
parking lot was 5-2.
Yeah.
Oh, to pass on that?
2 people voted
Against.
against it, 5 people voted for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't see anything else different.
That was the biggest disparity. There was a lot of.
Oh, they went to approve the public, the trust as is, where we just voted to place, I think.
What was the vote on that?
I think Article 32, they voted, if I'm correct, they voted approve. We voted 3-1 to place. Article 30,
Unanimous vote.
34, they voted 6-1 abstention, no action.
And 5-2 on the parking lot.
Yep, I think otherwise it was pretty much down the line.
Good. So you're looking for a motion to post the annual town meeting warrant?
Warm.
Yep.
I move that we post the,
well-
oh, good, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe the 2 separate votes, but both the annual and the special.
That's what I was gonna say, too. I was gonna vote to post both the annual and special town meeting warrant as presented here this evening.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Okay. We have the signature page for you to sign before you.
Great.
Shall we try to make it very, do you notice that it's always the same people that make the motion and second? I still want people to think I'm not on board, but I think it's a lot easier on some of these things to only have the same people. Makes it a little easier for you, right?
All right. Jamie, do you have any old business?
Nope.
Mary, any old?
No.
Ian, any old? Nope. Okay, I have no old. Jamie, any new?
Nope.
Mary, any new?
No.
Ian, any new?
Nope.
Bob, is this your last selectmen's meeting, or are we gonna have another?
Unless you have a special meeting.
It's not a,
Oh. We usually have
Just
one-
for Bob meeting.
Don't do me any favors.
No,
Oh, I'm gonna get nostalgic. I think we need to have another meeting.
no.
I'll come to your office instead of thinking.
We need a retreat.
I wanted a retreat, but you talked the board out of it. Yeah. I know it was your doing, too.
You know, Bob, I just wanted to say on camera that you stepped right in for the town, and you did a great job, and I think that the board and all the residents of this town were lucky to have you in the last 5 months that we did. So thank you for all your hard work.
yeah, we love you, bud.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
We all echo the same sentiments. We hope we don't have to have you back in this capacity.
I know you meant that in a nice way.
In this capacity.
I hope you don't see me back here either. I think that with your DPW director that's going to be starting next week, and Robin, who will be starting the week after, I believe, the 31st, I think you've got some excellent appointments, and, I'm very happy to have been a small part of that.
Will you overlap with her at all, though?
Well, I just mentioned that a little bit earlier. I think I'm willing to come out. I would think one day would be enough. I could come out on the 31st, her first day.
I'd be in favor of that. I
Oh,
think.
me too. I thought
yeah.
maybe 2 or 3 days, but if you think one day is okay.
I would be
We did?
Yeah.
happy for her to call me. I would
Okay,
make
that's
myself available if she had any questions.
One-day transition.
Great, so you'll both be here on the 31st.
Right.
Oh, good. So we're gonna go through that all over again, right?
All over again, yes.
We enjoy doing everything.
Why, what's the
Oh,
31st?
wait, is the third, do we have a
No,
meeting
no,
on the
we
30th?
don't, no,
Oh,
no,
we don't?
That's a
Robin-
Tuesday.
Oh, okay, I don't have my calendar in front of me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right, any correspondence?
I don't think so, it wasn't in the
Dale
packet.
at this job. Was there any? No.
It's just the minutes.
Yeah, I haven't had any yet. Now, we're looking for approval of minutes for February 7th, 2022. Anyone have any corrections?
Oh,
Can we bunch them together, or do we need approval for each individually?
There's,
Because there's 3 on
I'm
that list.
fine bunching them
yeah.
together.
Does anybody have any corrections to any of them?
Yeah, February 7th, April 21st, and April 22nd. Was everybody here for each one?
I think so.
That's just Mary has been absent, that's all.
Yeah, all right. If we have no corrections, is there a motion to approve the minutes as,
I move to approve the February 7th, 2022 minutes. The next one is the April 22nd, 2022, and what's the third date?
21st.
April 21st?
And April 21st, 2022 minutes has drafted.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion. I was leaving it open for you on that one, Mary. I was trying to.
I know, I had to, I found what I wanted, and I know, I don't have any corrections this time. It's,
Good, going to go.
I gotta get to your head, because you know how I am. Oh, I've got one thing.
Great job, Michelle. So we have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Thank you.
Ladies,
Now,
gentlemen.
citizens forum?
Executive session.
Covered it with the accolades of Mr. Reed, so,
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, now, hey, we have an executive session. You want to read the motion, Mary? You want me to?
Oh, sorry.
You too, Lee.
Thanks.
I just have 2 quick items. I did speak to the attorney, Mina, I forget his last name, with Anderson Krieger. He's ready to send us the engagement letter, and I spoke with him last Thursday. Because of the new boat DPW director, who would be heavily involved in this, and also the new town administrator, he agreed to wait until they were on board and meet with them and, you know, have them in on the ground floor for the negotiations with Southbridge. And also, I didn't make a copy of it, but I'll forward it to the board, did get a letter, speaking of attorneys, from KP, that their rates are going up to $200 an hour. I'll have to see, I didn't compare it to what they're charging now, but they sent us another fee schedule, so the board will be aware of that. Was it 180?
They're on the retainer, so it's all.
Costs are going up?
I'll make a motion that per Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21-2, that we move into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, and 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and not to reconvene in open session.
Seconded.
To declare.
I declare. All right, Jamie?
Aye.
Mary?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
And I say yes. So, let the cameras turn off.